very prominent speakers.
We don't hear you. Mr. Praveen Kumar, we can't hear you. Maybe some connection issue from your side. Mr. Praveen Kumar, we cannot hear you. Anybody who is playing the role of host, please let him know. Sushain or...
Okay, probably let me call him.
So I would request all the participants to stay with us. There is some connection issue from this from Mr. Praveen Kumar. So just give us a few seconds.
Hello, Hare Krishna. Sorry for inconvenience.
My connection was cut, but anyway, let us now. We don't have time. We can after the seminar we can whatever is left we can discuss. So I think we should start now, Dr. Jyotiranjan.
Okay, so just a few seconds. I'm setting it up.
So when my connection was lost,
It's almost 2-3 minutes by now.
Oh, okay.
So I'm starting. Okay, so welcome everyone to this session. I see some of the participants, they have the microphone switched on, so I would request them, please switch off your microphone so it interferes. Okay, thank you. So today's topic is Introduction to Consciousness, and that's the first part of the series that we have termed the Discover Yourself, or Introduction to Science and Philosophy in Indian Knowledge Systems. So the whole of Indian knowledge system, if you investigate the philosophy and the science, the foundational principle that is the understanding of consciousness. So that's why all primary text they talk about consciousness, conscious experience, how mind works, how intelligence works, and depth of information actually excels any body of knowledge present anywhere, any part of time. It's really remarkable that's there in Indian knowledge systems. So so that's why we thought it's a very important topic to start with, because we become conscious of the whole world because of our consciousness. So unless and until we understand what is consciousness, it's difficult to even appreciate the world around us. So with that thing, so let's begin. Let me share my screen with all of you. Just a second. Is my screen visible to all? Okay, so I presume so. So let's begin. So thank you very much for joining this series of discussions that we're having. So the series is termed as Introduction to Science and Philosophy of Indian Knowledge Systems. So the first one would be Science of Consciousness that I'm talking today. Then later sessions are Roadblocks to Happiness, answering the deeper questions of life. Third one would be Why do bad things happen to good people? These are more practical aspects of our Indian knowledge system. And then the fourth one would be Harmonizing Science and Spirituality. So if you reflect the way Western science and Western philosophy has evolved over the period and the way it has shaped the whole world today, so there is a dichotomy between science and spirituality, science and philosophy also. So, but in Indian traditions, the Indian knowledge systems, it makes a very wonderful harmonization of science and spirituality, and some very fundamental principles which are grounded on consciousness, the nature of conscious experience. They guide the science and they guide the spirituality as well. So there was never a time when science and spirituality were seen as seen at loggerheads with each other. So with that thing in mind, so let's begin the science of consciousness. So, so I would start with the question: what is the difference between the living and dead? So you may be thinking this is a very naive question to answer, but if you reflect, this is one of the most fundamental questions. Even till date, in science also, we don't have a proper answer. What is the difference between a living body and a dead body? So, contrarily, in modern science, what we think that fundamentally the dead matter and living matter, they are not anyway different. Just some chemical changes has changed in the dead body, so it is deteriorating. But the way Indian knowledge systems looks at living body and dead body, it's amazing actually. And the foundation is consciousness. Just like you see the pictures shown here. So this little girl standing before this giant bull. So, but just imagine that if these entities were real. I mean, it's really really, all wondering how the conscious beings and the dead beings, dead bodies, they behave. So if you have a living tree and a dead tree, so the way they behave is completely different. So the question is, what is the fundamental difference between this living and dead? That is consciousness that we are going to talk about. And this consciousness is the miracle in nature, actually. Why miracle? When it comes to spirituality, most of the people, they have a notion that spirituality is all about magic, some miracle. That's may not be in other parts of the world, but particularly in India, when it comes to spirituality or religion even, so people think of some sort of miracle. But what we are forgetful is that all around us, the miracle is happening. So just like the cows are eating grass and giving us milk. So if you set up a plant to produce milk from grass, I don't think till now any company, any R&D industry, they have become successful in producing the milk that the cows produce. So any tiniest fragment of the creation you take, because of the presence of consciousness within that, it behaves magically. So that's a miracle, actually. We need not go around to look for the miracles. So by this creation has already given us so much of miracle. So it's only that we are not conscious of the whole creation because we have never understood what is consciousness. So just like a seed is so tiny, but within that seed, it carries the potential of a big gigantic tree. And that tree, when produced, it gives millions of thousands of seeds. And from each of these seeds, there is a potentiality of millions of trees. So like that, you see, that's the nature of inconceivable potential of consciousness being present in matter. Unfortunately, this is not at all understood in modern way of doing intellectual activities. So even just look at the plant, the beautiful plants. So producing beautiful flowers. Every day, every morning, we pluck flowers. Have you ever imagined that how beautifully they are giving us such magical creations, so fabulously designed things? So this is an act of consciousness. So now, if I ask you the question, what's the difference between living organism and dead organism? So you may say that living organism, it experiences hunger, it experiences fear, sleep, sexual desires. Living organism self-replicates. Living organisms have creativity. But machines, they don't have these properties like hunger, fear, sleep. They don't feel that. They don't self-replicate. Of course, you may say that virus self-replicates, but again, that's programmed. And they don't have creativity. But the modern AI systems, they appear to be highly creative. So just like many of you must be using iPhones or MacBooks. So there you have a Siri. So you say, hey Siri, do this, do that, open this. So it behaves perfectly. So what is the difference between the living being and dead being? So that's the question that we're going to answer. So consider this example. Suppose right now I'm in IT Mandi. It's the area full of mountains. In the morning we get up, we see the sun's rising above the mountains, very beautiful. So if I see the sun rising from the mountains, and I design one AI system, as soon as it detects the red light, it would say that the sun has risen. So what's the difference? So I predicted that the sun is going to come. The AI machine can predict that sun is going to come at this point. I see a red light and I say that it's a red light, and the machine also sees the red light and says it's red light. So functionally, behaviorally, there is no distinction between the machine and the human being or conscious being that we are. But But this awareness that this is red light, this feeling that this is red, this experience is missing within the machine. Why is that? That's because the machine doesn't have the consciousness, but the living being, living matter, it has the consciousness, which is the foundation of the whole activity that is going on. So that's the difference. But unfortunately, in the way we are doing science today, we don't have answer to this kind of issues. So that's a big ironical situation. Unfortunately, we cannot do much about that. But if we subscribe to Indian knowledge systems, we have a lot to say about, even to advance the modern science. So there are other examples like a multimedia speaker may be echoing so beautiful melodious sound, but even though it emits, but it doesn't hear actually. It doesn't experience the sound. So that's the difference between consciousness and dead matter. Even one of the greatest proponents of modern science, quantum mechanics, Max Planck, he says, I regard consciousness as fundamental. I regard matter as derivatives from consciousness. We cannot get behind everything that we talk about. Everything that we regard as existing postulates consciousness. So the deepest of the thinkers, they have always pondered over the nature of consciousness, and people are still pondering over the consciousness. And to your surprise, now consciousness research is the most demanding research in modern science. Every field is now approaching to this branch of knowledge, because we become aware of the whole world, the knowledge that is there prevailing, because we are conscious. If you don't understand consciousness, so then everything is futile. So slowly, every branch of knowledge is approaching towards consciousness in their own way. So the question is, what is consciousness? So before that, let's see. Anything we gain knowledge in this world, it's ultimately an experience. Experience that can be split into 5 categories. It could be a sound. It could be a touch. It could be a form. It could be a taste, or it could be a smell. So these 5 entities, they constitute the experience that we have in this world. And they correspond to the subtle senses that are present in the subtle body. So these are the information that are coming from Indian knowledge system, and particularly in Bhagavad-gita, you can see a lot of description of that, and other texts are also there. So these sensory experiences are all that exists in this world, and because of these sensory experiences, we become conscious. So in a way, if you reflect, these sensory experiences and consciousness, they are very tightly integrated. So how is that integrated? So that is all about we're going to answer. So, but unfortunately, today's mainstream scientists think that what is consciousness? That is, consciousness is brain in action. So when somebody is going through some psychological disorder, that means what is wrong? It's wrong is there in the brain. Of course, that is there. Brain is one of the primary components of this bodily machine that we are wearing. So when that brain is, the machine is disturbed, so then we have different kinds of psychological disorders that is there. But to think that brain is consciousness in action, so that is wrong. So let's analyze a sophisticated scientific model, if you can come up with. So let's model the child who is playing with these bubbles. So we have this conscious experience, and this child is also experiencing while he's playing. Let's model it. How do we model? We'll model it using some biomolecules, some big proteins that's floating around here and there. And if you're not satisfied at the protein level description, let's go to the atomic level description, that the atom is there, and inside the atom, the electron is revolving, nucleus is there. And even if you're not satisfied with that level of description, let's go further. We divide it into fundamental components that's there in discussed in high energy physics, particle physics. So I come from this area. So we talk about quarks, leptons, different force fields. And then ultimately what do? We render everything into some mathematical symbolic description. And then we calculate and produce some numbers, and those numbers are stored on your machine. And now just compare. This child which is playing, the conscious experience of that, we started to model that. And at the end of the day, what we got? We got this binary number stored as different spins in the solid state disk or hard disk or in your storage system. And this storage system at some point of time may get spoiled or you may throw away. But can you ever imagine that you can throw away your child? But nobody would do that. No sane person would do that. So then how come the mathematical or scientific model that we have presented, that this child is equivalent to this binary numbers combination of that, how is that equivalent? There must be something wrong somewhere. So that is termed as materialistic reductionism. That means modern science believes in materialism, means everything is matter, and reductionism means everything can be reduced into fundamental components. And once you understand the fundamental components, then you understand the whole. But this is not Indian knowledge systems. Indian knowledge system says that even if you understand the components, that doesn't mean that you understand the whole. Whole is always bigger than the sum of the components. Again, this is a very detailed description on one of our flagship projects. So we see that so long the life is there in the material body, he has got varieties of thoughts. That is the proof that life is full of varieties. As soon as the life is not there, no more varieties, only one variety, that is dead body. That's all. So we see the variegatedness in this world just because consciousness is present. So what is consciousness? So if you refer to Bhagavad-gita, so that refers to consciousness, actually refers to Atman or soul. So we'll go detail into the different verses of Bhagavad-gita. So Bhagavad-gita 2.17 says that which pervades the entire body, you should know that to be indestructible. No one is able to destroy that imperishable soul. So what is consciousness? Consciousness means the Atman, the soul. So, and this whole body is actually a covering, a dress that is worn by the consciousness. The entity of consciousness is Atman. And science, I mean, in English language, we can loosely say it's soul. But soul, the way it is talked about in Christianity particularly, it's not the same as that's in Bhagavad-gita. So maybe a correct word would be Atma or Atman. So let's proceed to understand the nature of consciousness. So Bhagavad-gita gives a very profound description about consciousness, particularly in second chapter when it begins, Lord Krishna begins the discussion, starts instructing Arjuna, who was perplexed in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, confused about what to do, whether to go for begging or to fight in this battle and win. So he surrenders to Krishna as his supreme instructor, as his guru, and ordinarily, in a moral sense, you can never imagine somebody sitting, standing amidst the armies and preparing to fight. And what kind of instruction he's getting? He's getting the instruction of this deep philosophy. So one of the most unusual things that has ever happened in the history of the world, ever. So that is the Supreme Lord instructing a confused entity, Arjuna, in the midst of a battlefield of Kurukshetra, where crores of soldiers are standing just by little sign, they are ready to devour each other. In that precarious situation, Arjuna is being instructed the knowledge of Bhagavad-gita, and that to the knowledge begins with the knowledge of Atman, the soul. Because why? Because Indian knowledge systems, it grounds its philosophy and science on the understanding of consciousness. And consciousness comes because there is this Atman or soul. So unless and until one understands what is consciousness and what is conscious experience, there is no way that one can ever understand the the nature of reality that is around. So Arjuna was confused about the nature of reality, what to do, what not to do. So Krishna chose the knowledge of consciousness first. So what it says, that 2.13, it says, Dehino ashmin yatha dehe kaumaram yo jauvanam jara tatha dehantara prapti dhiras tatra numiyati. As the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change. So we don't have chance to ask individually because of this online mode. Maybe if you were physically present, then you could have some interactive discussions. So what is this body? What is this changing? And despite the fact that this body is changing, we remember that we are the same entity. Like you reflect your childhood days, you still remember that you are the same person who was playing in the courtyard, and your mother may be calling you that come, don't play there, or it's time. So you may have some fond memories of your childhood, but now you don't have that body. Your whole body changed. As medical science says, in a couple of years, maybe 7 years, the whole cells, they get replaced. So the body has changed, certainly. Yeah, you look at your picture in your photo album when you were 2 years old or 5 years old, or now when you are 20 years, 30 years, or 40 years, or some of you may be elderly. So that body has changed. Where has that body gone? But you still remember, you still retain that identity, something that continuously remains the same, that identity. But something that is there, which is continuously evolving. Every day, every second, this body is evolving. So, but still this conscious experience that you are there. So this identity is what the root of consciousness. And this body is just the external covering to that, which continuously passes, just like movie reels you look at. So continuously they are just different frames stacked together. Similarly, this whole life is real only. So we are born, we grow, we produce some byproducts, we stay some time, then we dwindle. But all through we maintain our identities. So that is what Bhagavad-gita talks about. Then Bhagavad-gita says that when somebody understands that I am the unchanging entity, so then I should not be disturbed by the changes that is happening around me. So that's why Lord Krishna in Bhagavad-gita, what he says, Matra sparsastu kaunteya shitoshna sukha dukkhada agama paino nityastam titikshashva bharata. That you tolerate, just like appearance of winter and summer, it comes on its own accord. So similarly, the happiness and distress should come on its own accord. So no need of being highly distressed or highly pleased. So they are just phases of the same reel. It's continuously changing and changing. What is not changing is our own consciousness, conscious experience, being the same person. So what is the what is the tangible effect of Atma? So how do I really understand that? Okay, I say that Indian knowledge system says that there is this Atman, some mystical entity that is there, which is responsible for consciousness. But how do I really verify myself? Is that a myth or is that a verifiable science? So Lord Krishna actually answers this question in Bhagavad-gita. He says, what is consciousness? Consciousness is something that pervades the whole body, entire body. If I pinch you, you experience that I'm pinching, you feel the pain. So no matter whether I pinch on your ear, on your nose, on your feet, wherever, everywhere you feel the conscious experience that I'm pinching. So how does that happen? Because consciousness pervades the entire body. So that's because the imperishable soul is present within that. So, and is there a way I can measure the Atman? No. So actually, in our Vedic scriptures, it talks about the measurement of the Atman, but in a different way. So it says that if you divide the atomic soul, what is the size? I mean, divide means what is the size of the atomic soul? if you divide that the tip of the hair into 100 parts and take one part and then further divide it into 100 parts, that's the size of the Atman. And where it is floating, that is floating in the 5 kinds of subtle airs: prana, apana, vyana, samana, udana, and it's situated within the heart. This heart is not the same kind of heart that we have, the physical heart. It's actually subtle heart, actually, the yogic heart that Yoga Sutras talk about. So it's a subtle science, and that's an estimation of the size of the soul. But again, this size is not to be confused with the modern day measurement techniques. So these sizes are perceived by, again, yogic perceptions, not by ordinary perceptions that we are having. In our ordinary measurement, we have a starting point and we have an end point, and the difference is the length. And we have a starting point of the time and end point of the time. That's the difference we call the time period. But that is not the understanding, that may not be the understanding in the case of spiritual entities like the Atman. Although the size of the Atman is given, but it is not the ordinary naive experience. So although the size is being talked about 10,000 part of the tip of the hair, in same Bhagavad-gita 2.18, what it says, the material body of the indestructible, the Atman, is immeasurable, and the eternal living entity is sure to come to an end. Therefore fight, O descendant of Bharata. Something missing maybe in between. So this the phrase comes aprameyasya, means it's immeasurable. Now, if Atman cannot be measured, then how come in the Vedic literature we have the information that it's 10,000 part of the tip of the hair? So that's because that experience of measurement is not the same as the kind of measurement we do with our meter tapes or any other kinds of sophisticated measuring devices we have. That's a different kind of measurement, only perceived through yogic perception. So that is how we need to understand. And what is this consciousness, the entity of consciousness, the Atman? We don't have a positive attribute to that. So Lord Krishna answers that in a negative way. Means the soul cannot be cut into pieces by any weapon, cannot be burned by fire, nor moistened by water, nor withered by wind. So any kind of experiment that we do, it can be probably grouped into these 4-5 kinds of steps. We cut something, we wither something, we moisten something, we burn something. That is how we disturb the system and do experiment. But here Lord Krishna says that there is no way we can interact through this gross physical objects. So that means there is no way we can catch hold of this Atman. So the science is different, actually. The next verse itself, Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad-gita 2.24, this individual soul is unbreakable, insoluble, can be neither burnt or not dried, is everlasting, present everywhere, unchangeable, immovable, eternally the same. So what kind of attributes these are? These are all attributes in negation. When you don't understand things in positive sense, then you can explain that this is something that it is not. Like if I say, I see some names being floated here, Silpa Singh Chandil. So I say, who is Silpa Singh Chandil? Silpa Singh Chandil is not X, Silpa Singh Chandil is not Y, Silpa Singh Chandil is not this, that. So, but who is Silpa Singh Chandil? So that answer is not perceivable through material empirical verifications. So these are definitions in negation. So like that, Lord Krishna talks about the nature of soul, the Atman, throughout Bhagavad-gita. You can all refer to that. So we don't have much time to go. I'll go further. So these are well and fine. So you may ask, is there any way we can give any indirect, verification of this Atman, the nature of consciousness, the root of consciousness? Yes, it is there. And one of the biggest pioneers in this field is Ian Stevenson. He was the professor at University of Virginia, Doff's Department of Perceptual Studies. The legacy is still continuing by his successors, Jim Tucker, Edward Kelly, and others. So most importantly, the reincarnation research that Ian Stevenson and his colleagues have done, it's remarkable actually. So they have documented more than 3,000, even more than that, cases of reincarnation. And that shows actually this body, although changing life after life, but there is a continuity. So there are some examples that will soon come across. And similarly, there are other studies that talk about the near-death experiences and out-of-body experiences, particularly by this doctor, Pim Van Lommel. So, and about Michael Sobam. So they have documented also some very well-established case studies of out-of-body experience and near-death experiences. So one way is you may say that, okay, I don't believe in these ideas. So these are all maybe fabricated stories or unscientific. But given the amount of information that is collected, it's really difficult to say outrightly reject these ideas. But given that also that Indian knowledge system, the foundation is this only. So although these people, the culture they live in, they don't have this foundation, despite that they have come up with these studies. So that indicates that certainly the nature of eternal being, it's there. So the consciousness, root of consciousness must be an eternal being. So that's life after life, it goes to different bodies. So what can be some tentative proofs for the existence of soul? The very first thing is the intuitive understanding. The second can be common sense. Third is maybe near-death experience. And then the children, precocious children who remember they have very extraordinary memories. And then people with mental problems, especially the case of phobias. And there are many proofs also from neuroscientists and past life memories as well. So, so the intuitive understanding is, if I ask you, who are you? So whether you are your head, whether you are your hands, whether you are your nose, whether you are your ears, whether you are your mouth, who are you? So you take one of your limb, none of is you. And then if none of the limbs is you, collectively, how it becomes you? That's a question to think about. So the nature of identity, how we identify ourselves with something, it's so ingrained. And I mean, I could have put some experiments. It's called rubber hand illusion experiments, where the person actually identify himself, his hand, real hand, it's a false hand. Even in the VR setup, virtual reality setup, the person can identify himself with the whole body. This body that I'm thinking that this is me, in the virtual reality setup, the person can forget altogether. He may think that the virtual body, the avatar, is he, and experience the experience that is being presented before the virtual reality setup. So the question is, who am I? So you saw that all through your life, the body has changed, and it is changing. And there are many other examples that strongly question actually, who am I? I mean, intuitively, if you reflect very deeply, you will come to the point that none of these experiences of me that I'm having, whether it is interoception or exteroception, means experience of my internal organs or experience of the external world. So none of these constitute the me. So they're all attributes of me. Who am I? I mean, it's not me, but they're associated with me. That's a intuitive understanding. And when somebody dies, you don't, you say that he has passed away. Of course, you may say that this is the way language works, but language is so subtle that it captures these essential principles, that the person has passed away. Means the body is there, but he has passed away elsewhere. So even common sense also, we have this understanding. So is the person not lovable anymore when the person actually the body dies? yes, the person who I am thinking that he is the person who has died, certainly he is not the same as same person, same identity that I was thinking about. This body is deteriorating, and it will deteriorate at some point, it will dwindle and go away. But the identity, the Atman, that continues throughout the body. When I was a child, when I was young, when I am old, that continues. And when I become the next body. So that is the real person who is the object of love. But unfortunately, the whole world is misled to think that this body is me. So the whole life is wasted to decorate this body and to care for this body, fight for this body. Just like two nations are fighting for many months by now. So what is the use of such fight when this body will dwindle? And we are caught in this trap of wrong sense of identity, thinking that this is me, this is he, and we have a conflict of interest, and let's fight and for some our agenda. So what's the use? So that's because that arises because we have never understood who is the self. Even common sense understanding is also missing. So what is life? If I say, we already talked the difference between living matter and dead matter. Life, is it when the symptoms reproduce itself? Computer programs, crystals, fire structures, the bushfire, they all replicate. Living things are effectively machines that create order from disorder in their environment. That is given by Schrodinger in his book Life. But the candle flames also creates order from disorder in their environment, and is patently and it's not alive, patently not alive. Paul Davis, one of the greatest thinkers, he also says, the fifth miracle, a living being metabolizes, processing chemicals to gain itself energy. But Jupiter's great red spot, it also does the similar kind of thing. Life has organized complexity. It is composed of independent complex systems such as arteries and legs. So what about modern cars? It has also similar parallels. Life grows and develops. So as does rust. So life contains information and passes that information on. So much like computer viruses and other systems. So the fundamental difference between consciousness and the dead matter is the entity of consciousness, the root of consciousness, the Atman. So near-death experience that I was talking about a few slides before. So there was a famous cardiologist, Michael Sovum. He was a professor at Emory University Medical School. So he happened to operate one patient who faced a very serious injury in some accident, and the person actually had out-of-body experience. Means although he was unconscious, practically brain dead, but still he was observing the whole scene, what is happening in the ICU. So when this operation was done and they successfully operated that person and brought back him to life, then he narrated the whole story, and that is so tantalizing, and it's so well documented, and many people accept it. But there are of course many who say that these are all fabricated stories. Now it's up to you, given the amount of information and the way it's recorded. It's one of the most profound cases, the case of Pamela Reynolds. So these cases, and there are many other cases of near-death experience. Some of them you can find on YouTube. Of course, many of them may not be authentic, but there are many actually very authentic near-death, well-recorded case studies. And Dr. Raymond Moody listed some of the central characteristics of near-death experience while cautioning that no two near-death experiences are alike, because person is roaming in the subtle body, and they have a different kind of experience. Some of them have reported ineffability. Some have reported hearing spectators speaking to the subject's death, feelings of peace and quiet, strange noise during the occurrence, dark tunnel, and many such being of light, life review, like that, many such experiences are there. So what is remarkable is that about near-death research is that the number of highly specialized doctors who are distinguished scientists, and they have documented, just like Ben Lommel I was talking about, who carried out a 13-year study, and the American cardiologist Michael Savum, who performed a systematic and carefully documented study of more than 160 patients, whom 47 had near-death experience. Psychologist Kenneth Ring also has studied near-death subjects since 70s. And Melvin Morse, from last 15 years, Bruce Gresham, he has written many peer-reviewed articles in scholarly journals about near-death experience, and many others till date they are still continuing. And particularly the Department of Perceptual Studies, DOPS at University of Virginia, they are still continuing that legacy and doing research on near-death experience and out-of-body experience, and particularly reincarnation. So even the famous philosopher, rationalist Russell, he also had this experience of near-death experience and out-of-body experience. So actually the Sunday Telegraph actually reported this incident of his out-of-body experience. So what he says, I saw a divine being. I'm afraid I'm going to have to revise all my various books and opinions. So he was a mostly like an atheist and believers of rationalism. So one of the most formidable atheists you can say. But later on, he changed his mind after having these experiences. And here, one of the famous persons who had this near-death or out-of-body experience, that is professor of art at Northern Kentucky University. So he also had similar experience, and he also changed. So it's not that only 1-2% have this experience. Many people have actually reported. So the question can be, does it really depend on age, sex, social standing, or belief system of the person? No, it is not. This have been observed all through. Isn't this experience a hallucination produced by falling brain that has been deprived of oxygen and has a deficit of carbon dioxide? No, it is not actually. Dr. Lommel, the cardiologist we just mentioned, he measured the level of O2 and CO2 in the blood of a person under cardiac arrest at the precise moment of a near-death experience. Although the patient was unconscious, he clearly saw the doctor introduce a needle in his femoral artery in order to analyze the gases carried in the blood. The results were perfectly normal. There was no hypoxia or hypercapnia. I mean, deficit of oxygen or CO2. So it is not the case also. So the third question can be, enveloping light of love experienced during near-death experience is due to poorly supplied occipital lobe, which creates an image that looks like an old television set, just like a CRT screen maybe, that has just been turned off. Like if you turn up the CRT screen, you see the halo. So intensity of the luminous spot gets bigger quickly and then gradually decreases before disappearing completely. So this is one of the allegations. So the answer can be, after interviewing people undergone ND, it becomes very clear that the appearance of the CRT screen being turned off has absolutely nothing in common with the accounts of an indescribable light of love bursting forth at the end of the tunnel. So that light is increasing in intensity and volume. It never looks like a luminous flash that fades like little by little. Like that, the near-death experiences can be supported. And the most important thing is that there are very well-documented cases. So, of course, by physicalist approach of science, like in the beginning we talked about reductionism, materialistic reductionism, we can never explain this near-death experience afterlife reincarnation studies. So that is never possible. And how does actually children of 5 actually solving complex calculus problems of that of graduate level? I mean, the person may be struggling with that, or speaking different languages. How does that happen? There are many well-documented cases, like a Russian woman who claims to be able to speak more than 120 languages and says that she has learned from them in her previous lives. So how does that happen? So these are all because of past memories that are ingrained within the subtle memories, subtle body that carries the living entity life after life. So there are many issues of phobias. Phobias means you have some unusual fear of something. Dr. Brian Weiss of Sinai Medical Research Center at US. So he says through hypnotically induced past life regressions, he actually showed that these phobias originate in a traumatic previous life death caused by the very objects toward which one has phobia in this life. So just like somebody may have phobia of water, might have the case that he has or she has drowned in her or his previous lives, or you have phobia of heights. So you must have fallen from the cliff in some life and faced death. So like that, the subtle memories, the strong fearful memories, they get stored within the subtle mind. So that carries forward towards next life, and that for some cases they remain prominent and create phobia. And the brain research experiments, particularly by Dr. Penfield, so the father of neurosurgery, in his book Mystery of Mind, so he has talked a lot about epilepsy patients he mostly worked on. So now these experiments can be emulated these days also. We have TMS, transcranial magnetic resonance. So in these TMS studies, one can hit apply magnetic field on certain parts of the brain, and one can invoke one's memories. But in those memories, one never experiences that I am the agent. So this kind of brain research experiments, particularly starting from the works of Wilder Penfield. So this agency, the nature of free will, that I am the agent of my activity, the conscious decision, the volition. So that is always missing. So even though one can explain these ideas, I mean, emulate these ideas, or even the ideas of OBs, some people have also reported in the peer-reviewed articles in last decades that they can emulate the out-of-body experience of some sort, some preliminary sort, by applying this electric or magnetic fields on brain, on some selected regions. But in all those experiences, one never feels himself to be the agent. Means I'm undergoing the experience. It always feels that the third person is doing something, and something happened by reflex. So that's a very important aspect of agency and free will, which is also one of our flagship projects in our research projects that we're carrying forward. And of course, any of you who is interested and capable, so they can surely contact us. We'll be happy to work and take you in our team. And there are other studies I just in the beginning mentioned, the reincarnation and past life memories. So Dr. Ian Stevenson, he has documented more than 3,000 cases spanning over 30 years of his research. He traveled all over the world, in India particularly, collecting different cases. And one of his colleagues, Professor Satwant Pasricha, she also one of our guest speakers last year. Maybe you can find her talk on our YouTube channel. So like that, many researchers, they have documented very well-established case studies of reincarnation. Maybe we can, if you have time, what's time now? 12:37. So we can discuss that. So here is the case of one little girl, Santi. As a child, you can see here in this photo, and as a adult here. So Dr. Ian Stevenson, actually leading authority on this incarnation, so he says, I also interviewed Santi Devi, her father, and other pertinent witnesses, including Kedarnath, the husband claimed in her previous life. My research indicates that she made at least 24 statements of her memories that matched the verified facts. You see the level of accuracy. I mean, you may say that prove me just like I prove any scientific experiment I am performing these days in your maybe if you are in undergraduate level, you may be performing very simple experiments like identifying the salts or pendulum, identifying the gravitational constant. So show me like that, prove me like that. But see, what is the premise? The premise is that the carrier of this consciousness, it's eternal. It pervades through the body, continuously passes as the body changes. So it's a entity that is not materially describable. That's why Lord Krishna in Bhagavad-gita, he spoke about this conscious entity in negation. So no material experiment can establish in positive way. Only negative way what can establish. But indirect inferences can be drawn. So just like here, Ian Stevenson, he has done such a wonderful job of finding out at least 24 statements in the case of Santi Devi, and there are many such examples in his book, you can refer. So they indicate that the case of reincarnation is a fact. And also we at ISS, in collaboration with our international team, we have also a very big project running. We are working on this reincarnation and trying to study just not the self-reported data, also brain imaging. We are planning to do that. Maybe there are some imprints that are there, that are signature of past life memories, because as per the Indian knowledge system, the gross body evolves from the nature of the subtle body. So as the subtle body is, I mean, subtle body is means the kind of memories, the kind of experiences that got stored within the subtle body in the previous life. That kind of experiences dictate the kind of body that I'm having in this life. So certainly there can be some physiological signature that may be there in the brain or other parts of the body that can be imaged through the state-of-the-art leading facilities. So this is an ambitious project. Hopefully we may have some success. And these are some of the instances. Minu, she was 18 when she claims that she was Sudha in her previous life, and Sudha was murdered by her husband. And there was a birthmark on Minu's forehead, and is at the same spot where Sudha was fatally hit. And the left side, you will see 3-year-old Mahinder, blue shirt, remembers himself as old Ogadram, killed in an accident. He traveled to Ogad's village and took sweets for his Ogad's 3 children, seen with Ogad's mother and Mahinder's father. So there are many such cases documented. So even in our literature, ancient Vedic texts, there are ample number of reincarnation stories, just like Jada Bharata, the king Bharata becoming the deer becoming Jada Bharata. So that story is also there. We don't have time to describe that. So there are 2 types of reincarnation. One is internal and one is external. Means in this life you are evolving. This is internal change. And then you change the body when the body is no longer useful. That's the external. So, but the same soul pervades different kinds of body, because that's the nature of spiritual entity. And its nature is different, and it energizes the whole body, whole activity that's happening. So, and these are some discussions we'll be having in subsequent discussions. So as per Indian knowledge systems, the energies of the absolute truth can be categorized in inferior and superior category. Gross elements, subtle elements. Gross elements includes earth, water, fire, air, ether. Subtle elements include mind, intelligence, false ego. And the spiritual entity, the Atman, the consciousness, the root of consciousness, the compositions can be talked about as Sat, means it eternal, Chit, full of knowledge, and Ananda. These are all discussed in Bhagavad-gita, maybe in some other series about Bhagavad-gita where we may having a detailed discussion, so we can take it up. So, and knowledge of soul or Atman as per Bhagavad-gita, how it's going to help us. So when you understand that it's indestructible, it's individual, its form and personality is there, it's inconceivable, situated in the region of the heart. So when we have this conscious experience, when you understand this nature of consciousness, we become actually sympathetic to the whole world. We become a better conscious being. We become better responsible citizen, because now we see the whole world as manifestations of consciousness, which was otherwise taken as granted. With the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, the science of consciousness, now we'll get the eyes to see the world with this light, that the whole world is miraculous. Why? Because consciousness is present, and we are also conscious beings. Then how can I disturb the whole world? So naturally, if you understand and assimilate this principle, the whole world will become happy. So that's the advantage. And of course, we need to carry forward the science part also, the nature of subtle body, how mind operates, how intelligence works, how the nature of self operates, how the matter interacts with the subtle body, how the conscious entity, the living entity, the Atman interacts with the subtle body. So these are all deep sciences that are gifts of Indian knowledge system, but it is not presented in the modern context. So we all need to join hands together to bring forward this science of consciousness in a modern context. So that's the mission of Institute for Science and Spirituality and many of our fellow workers. So thank you very much. Any questions? I'll be happy to take. Maybe 5 minutes we can take some questions. Yeah, you are muted, Prem Kishore Prabhu. Yeah. If any of you have any question, please let us know. Or any queries about ISS and its activities. Yeah, the participant, they can unmute themselves. I'm trying to unmute, but the host is removing the unmute.
Yeah, yes. Now I think it is open. Are you able to unmute yourself?
Yes. So Jyotiranjan ji, can I ask one question?
Yes,
I
please,
think.
yes, please. First, please introduce yourself. Who is speaking?
Yeah. I am Davinder Kumar. Actually, yeah, I got this invitation from one of my senior in college, YMC Institute of Engineering,
Okay.
and yeah, I find it very, very interesting. Not interesting. It's realization kind of a session. Thanks for this session, first of all.
Okay.
And presently I am in USA. And how could I participate in this research if I am interested in some of the project?
Yeah, surely. What is your background, sir?
My educational background, or
Yeah, educational background. What you have studied or what you are pursuing now? So.
Actually, I am doing job. I am having total around more than 25 years of experience. I did engineering and MTech also I did from College of Engineering, Pune.
What is your
Plus
branch, area of expertise?
Electronics and electronics. I did digital electronics in MTech.
Yeah.
And I did one bachelor degree in psychology.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Apart from engineering, just for interest.
Yeah, surely. Please write to us at maybe our host. Please paste the email address. Please write to us formally, so we can have some discussion. Certainly, we need many experts in the area of psychology, and also digital signal processing as well of brain data. So, if you have any experts, known experts in the area of EEG or other devices, so please let us know. Certainly, psychology is one of the areas we can discuss.
Okay, thank you, Jyoti.
But do write to us formally, so that way. Okay, thank you.
Email address can I get the email address?
I would request the host.
Yes. So if Indrajit Prabhu is there, please drop the email ID
Yeah, I pasted.
or
Yeah.
the WhatsApp group. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? I see some hands. Professor Sila maybe or Fatehjit.
Thank you so much. I have a query. Like many times in Indian knowledge system, there is a reference to Atman and Brahman. So, are we taking both of them as one? Because as we see, like in Isha Upanishad, Isha Vasimidam Sarvam. So, whatever is there in this whole cosmos or universe is nothing but the manifestation of the one Brahman. So, are we the same Brahman or we are Atman, which is different from Brahman and that continues its journey from one life to the other life? I mean, that part I would like to understand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's more
Thank
of yeah. Thank you for that question. So the philosophical debate surrounding this question is enormous. There are thousands of years of history to that. Just to make the story short, what is true about why do we need the nature of Brahman to understand? Because just like we want to address the root of everything. So the cause and effect cycle, if we go into that, all logical analysis can delve into that realm, cause and effect. So the natural question comes, what is the fountainhead of all such cause and effect? So that is the Brahman that's talked about in Upanishads. And we particularly in Vaishnava tradition, we accept that the nature of Brahman and the nature of living entity are the same. But at the same time, as individual entities, the living entity and the Brahman, they are different. So the absolute truth can be realized in three phases. Badanti tat tattva vidas tattvam yas jnanam advam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavan iti sabdyate. That's Paribhasa Sutra of Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Puran, which very succinctly answers this question. What is the nature of absolute truth? It says it's realized in three phases: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. And this Brahman is without duality. That means if you talk about the reality as only Brahman, then you don't have scope for any other duality. So, as a many revealed scripture, just like you quoted Ishopanishad, the same Ishopanishad towards the later verses, it says Hiranyamaya Patrena, that verse, it says the living entity is praying to the absolute truth, that all absolute truth, please unwind the glaring effulgence so that I can see you, your beautiful face. So the nature of duality is something, it's not that Upanishad is not saying. The impersonal interpretation of nature of reality says that there is no duality. It's only the Brahman that exists. But then that kind of philosophy then creates another level of duality, the Maya. So again, I'm not going into those discussion. We will have the separate discussion. So as per the Vaishnava understanding, as per the Acharyas like Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, Nimbaka, Vishnu Swami, and others, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So the nature of Brahman and nature of Atman are the same, but quantitatively there is a difference. So neither collectively then Atman make up the Brahman, nor Brahman is same as the Atman. So there is a plurality, but at the same time there is a singularity also, individual unity also. That's the nature, the Satchit Anand. So that much I can say now. Maybe later we can discuss. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Okay, welcome. So any further questions? Siriraj Prabhu is asking something.
I think I would request participants to, if possible, open your videos also, but then it will become little
Personal.
more personal.
It's all about consciousness, and we are
Yeah.
So
Yes, whoever can do it, then it would be nice. Thank you, Dr. Jitender. Yeah, wonderful.
Hare
Yeah.
Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare
Please,
Krishna.
please. Deepa Mataji. Yes, please. Yeah, please go ahead.
No, I don't have any question, Prabhuji.
Shiraz wanted to ask. Shiraz has raised his hand.
Also just raised. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So anybody asking? I see some hands being raised. Sriraj Kurkure and or Fatehjit Kaur.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Shri Raj from Mumbai. Actually, I had one question. Prabhuji, in a spiritual world, do we have a subtle body, mind, intelligence, and ego with us?
And
Because in the spiritual world, uh-huh.
yeah, in the spiritual world, there is no distinction between the Atma and the body that it has. So it's the same, actually, same nature. So, but in the material world awards, material nature awards a body to the living entity, which is of spiritual nature. So there is a dichotomy, there is a difference. But in the spiritual world, the nature of Atma and the nature of mind that it has is all spiritual, same nature. There is no duality in them. Just like in the spiritual world, the Supreme Lord and the flute that he uses, so they're the same spiritual nature. So similarly, the living entity there, so their mind, their intelligence, their senses, they're all spiritual. They're all of the same one composition. So
Yeah, wonderful. So just want to add here that ISS, you have the message in the chat window, admin@issdelhi.org. If some of you wants to be part of the ISS, please kindly do write to us. And if you want to participate in any research, any activity of ISS, the email ID is there in the chat window. Please have a note of that, and you can write a mail to us. So, yeah, any other question, please?
Just a query.
yes.
I just wanted to access the material which was mentioned in an email, but there was something like written to sign up. So, are we supposed to make another kind of registration or something to sign up, or if we are a member, we will be able to access all the material which is available on the website?
You are talking about the course dot.
Yes, yes.
Oh, that is actually originally we planned this course being launched on that platform. So that this course anybody can, I mean, could have signed up there. So, but there were some technical hassles, so we couldn't figure it out. So for the moment, we didn't use that. But for later courses that are being offered by ISS, it would be on that courses.issdelhi.org. And the members, of course, they have special access to that. And some of the courses are free also, like this one. So anybody can, but sign up is required there. So so that the database has your information and it can send you necessary documents and information time to time.
Thank you.
Okay, welcome.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I am specifically interested to know more about reincarnation and past life memories. I did few meditations from YouTube and I was able to get some information and related to my past life. So it was not when I was a child, but now when I'm grown up. So I am able to find some information. So I document that. And surprisingly, the facts that I'm documenting, they are the same.
Oh,
The pictures
wonderful.
that I see, they are the same. So it's not too much, but yeah, some information I'm able to figure out on my own, but I would like to explore more. So would like to know how I can study more about it and so that I can find out more details related to this.
Yeah, surely. Our team is working on that, particularly Dr. Neha Satam from Pune. So please write to us in the same email about your findings and we'll be in touch with you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Welcome. Okay, so if no more further questions, should we call this a day or?
Yes, yes. So I just have a last announcement that if any one of you want to be part of the reincarnation research, so in whichever part of the world you are in, you can contribute by becoming a the media for informing us and giving the information about any reincarnation cases happening in your area, or you might have come to know about that particular case. So you can share that, and our team can reach. We can be extended. You can become an extended support to ISS by communicating, giving information about the reincarnation cases in your areas. Because what we have found that there are a lot of cases available, and only thing is that sometimes people out of shyness or some other things, they do not share it in public, or maybe in public forum. There are various fears. So if you have uh, come to know about such kind of cases, you can let us know, and then our team can reach there and do further research and analysis on that. Okay, so I think we stop here. If no further questions are there, then probably let us meet next time. So the next time the session is on roadblock to happiness, and it will be a wonderful session. You know what? We all are searching for happiness, but what are the roadblocks which are actually stopping us to feel or gain access to that unlimited or eternal happiness which scriptures talks about. And so it will be a wonderful session, and so do join at 11:30 next Sunday, same time, and that will be a wonderful session. That's all I can say.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.